Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of our Tuesday night officiating Zoomcasts. My name is Scott Zelkin, and I will be your host and moderator as we cover the topic of referee positioning in both the 3 and 4 official system. I want to thank you all for joining us this evening, and first order of business is to introduce you to our special guests and members of our panel. We have two panelists this evening, both very experienced and very accomplished officials in the 3-man system or 3 official system. Our first guest is Melissa Szkola. Melissa is the women's referee-in-chief for the state of Michigan, is a longtime official. She's been officiating for about 15 years. And in that time, she's had quite a number of exciting adventures and quite a number of successes. In addition to working in numerous state and national championships, Melissa has officiated extensively at the international level, including the 2018 World Olympic Games in South Korea, where she represented the United States as one of the referees that was selected to go over there. So Melissa, welcome to our Zoomcast tonight.
Thanks, Scott. I'm happy to be here.
That's great. Thank you. We're really glad to have you. Our second panelist is coming to us from sunny California, Andrew Wilk. Andrew is also a longtime official. He's been a registered official with USAH Hockey for about 20 years. In that time, has also had extensive work not only in the junior ranks, but also in the professional ranks. He's been working in the IIHF for almost a decade now, going on 9 years, and then in the American Hockey League for 5+ seasons. And in addition to that, he also has experience at the international level, working numerous tournaments around the world as a representative of USAH Hockey. So Andrew, welcome to the Zoomcast tonight.
Hi, Scott. Thanks. Hi, everybody. Happy to be here.
Thanks, Andrew. Before we start with our topic and kind of dive into this, I want to address last week's Zoomcast. The officiating Zoomcasts have been going on now for a couple of months, and honestly, there's something we're very proud of within the officiating department. And you know, they cover topics all wide-ranging in terms of things. We've got a nuts and bolts topic tonight, like referee positioning. We've covered line position in the 2 official system. We've covered communication, and last week we covered diversity and inclusion. And for those of you that joined us last week, you know that after about 45 minutes of really good conversation, we had one or more individuals crawled out from under a rock and decided to direct comments in the chat section that were no other way to put it other than they were vile, offensive, completely out of line, and totally disgusting, to be quite honest. And as much as we tried to remove them, these individuals, we couldn't remove them, and we had to cut the Zoomcast short. And on behalf of USAH Hockey, I want to address and once again apologize to those of you that were on last week and had to see this. And I want to reaffirm our commitment as an organization. Diversity and inclusion is a really important topic, not only within the hockey world, but also societally at the moment. And I can tell you the only thing that those individuals did was further steel our resolve to continue to strive to be the most inclusive organization that we can be, to continue to try to broaden our reach and make sure USAH Hockey, not only in the officiating side, but across the spectrum of USAH Hockey, is as welcoming and inclusive as we can possibly be. Once again, I just really more than anything wanted to acknowledge that on behalf of USAH Hockey, apologize that you had to go through that with us last week, and assure you it's done nothing but strengthen our resolve. So with that, as we do every week within our Zoomcasts, I want to remind our audience, you do have a Q&A button at the bottom. As we get into the positioning of the referees within the 3 and 4 official system, you're welcome to throw out some questions. We'll be able to answer them. But to start, as we always do, we're going to start with a poll question to kind of see where you are at in our audience within the system that we're talking about tonight. So we've got 4 questions for you. What percentage of games do you work in the 3 official system? So first, let's talk about the 3 official system. How many of your games are you working? Then what percentage of games are you working in the 4 official system? And then when you're working in those systems, how many of those games are you working as a referee as opposed to working as a linesman? And then how comfortable are you within the positioning of those systems and the mechanics of those systems? Because that's ultimately what we're going to strive to help educate you on tonight. So we'll give it 30 more seconds. The tallies are coming in, and then we'll share the results with you and kind of see where you're at. We'll close it out right now. And now I'm going to share the results. So the first question, what percentage of games do you work in the 3 official system? The majority of you are not doing a ton of games. You're working less than 50% of your games in the 3 official system. Then when we can compare it with the 4 official system, you know what? A good majority of you are not working that system. We've only got, 73% of you are working 25 or less percent of your games in the 4 official system. When you're working in that system, how many of those games are you working as a referee? I work at least half of those games. Well, less than 50% of you, about 30% of you are working those games as referees. So more of you are working the majority of those games on the lines. And then, are you comfortable with all of the mechanics involved? And you know what? It's split. We do have a number of people watching tonight that are not officials. But it's a good number. So this Zoomcast is really going to be for you, because ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the system, and we're going to talk about what can we do in terms of being as competent as possible in terms of our positioning and things like that. So, it is different being an official in the 3-man or 4-man system. So first off, Melissa, what's the difference? What does it mean to be the referee in either the 3 or the 4 official system? What are you thinking about? How's your mindset a little bit different when you start in that stuff?
I think the biggest difference that you'll find between the 2 is in the 3 official system, as the referee, you are the only referee on the ice. So although you're out there as a team with your linesmen, the decision making when it comes to the penalties and those calls essentially ends up on you. So you have to have the confidence to make that decision, to make it in a timely fashion, and to be confident with that call. Although we have help from our linesmen, you need to be able to practice the ability to make that decision on your own. Where in the 4 official system, you have a partner out there that you need to be able to work well with, but still knowing how to kind of separate where you're looking, where they're looking, and work as a team together to make those calls as fluid as possible throughout the game.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? And it is a change, right? When you start out as a referee in the 3 official system, you really, it's one of those things, Andrew, where you've got to mentally get yourself in a zone to where you're comfortable kind of being out there by yourselves, right? We like to talk about those armbands can be kind of heavy at times. That's really true, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, no matter, you are out there again with linesmen and out there as a team and all, but at the end of the day, that responsibility does fall on you, and you need to be the one to be able to make that decision in a timely manner and be decisive about it.
The reality is there are going to be times when, some people aren't comfortable being a referee, but it is a really good challenge. And it's something that, you know what, we're going to give you some of the tools here to put yourself in the best possible position so that you can be successful. So when we talk about that, you know, when we talk about positioning, we're talking about being in good position. So it's different than the two official system, and we covered that a couple of weeks ago. But as a referee, and the majority of you have more experience in the three official system, and we're going to spend the majority of our time there, but we're talking about good positioning. And when we talk about mechanics, you want to be in good position because it's going to enable you as the referee to see as much of the action as possible. And by doing that, you're going to have good sight lines. Those are going to be things that we talk about on a regular basis. Sight lines. If you're in good position, you're going to be able to see things. It's also going to keep you safe, get you in good viewing areas, but also in places where you're out of traffic. And the more traffic you're in, the more difficult it is to have good sight lines and be able to see, you know, see everything that's going on. And so we're also going to talk a little bit about no man's land. So let's start right at the beginning, okay? When we're starting at the beginning as a referee, you know, we're at center ice. We're dropping the puck here. We're going to have one linesman over here, and you can always, all of you forgive me for my drawing, but we're going to have one linesman over here and one linesman over here, and our referee is going to be at center ice. After he's checked that the goalies or that the goal judges are ready and that the timer is ready, he's dropped the puck. And what's he going to do? We see this on a regular basis, right, Andrew? You know, if you're watching on TV, sometimes you're going to see the referee in the NHL, you know, he might go this way. All right, we're not doing that. We want the referee going backwards, right, Andrew?
That is correct.
And where is he going to go? What is he going to be in a big hurry, or is he taking his time? What's his thought process? Or when you're a referee, what is your thought process after you've dropped the puck?
And this is where you kind of take a second. You see your surroundings here. You don't want to rush backwards immediately. There could be players behind you that are coming in on you. So take a second, look around, definitely take a look behind you before you start backing up. Because again, you could have those wingers coming in on you. And then again, find out which way the play is going, which direction you're then going to go once you get back towards the boards.
Yeah. So you're not in a huge hurry. You're going to take your time, and then you're going to get back out of play towards the wall. Now, once you've done that, let's assume, and forgive me here, I'm just working with my PowerPoint. Once we've done that, okay, and play is in the zone, and plays in the neutral zone as a referee, we've backed out of the circle here, right? And then we're going to make a decision as to where's play going to go. And once play transitions, or, you know, they beat the puck around the neutral zone a little bit, Melissa, now play's moving into the zone and it's heading in this way. What are we as the referee going to do? Are we skating even with the puck? Are we behind the play a little bit? What are we thinking about here?
We want to follow play into the zone about 10 or 15 feet behind play. So we have the best field of vision to see any infractions and to get to the goal line as quick as possible for a potential goal situation.
So we're really, you know, we're trying to look, and if you look at the PowerPoint here, we're looking at an angle. So the play may be up here where the X is, and my drawing is terrible. But as we're skating into the zone as the referee, up the ice this way, we're looking at it as an angle. And if you see these big red lines, what are we looking at there? That's really our field of vision, right? So if we've got our field of vision, that way we're on an angle, we can see everything. So we're talking about sight lines, right? So we can see everything that's going on, because once again, we don't have a partner to look behind the play. That's one of the reasons we're trailing behind. Correct? Andrew, what happens if we're too even with the play? So if as the referee, we've come up the ice and we're looking at the play like this, what kind of trouble are we getting ourselves into?
Well, for speaking of firsthand experience, I did have a player slide into me when that happened, when I was a little too parallel with it and broke my ankle during a game when I was three-manning. So I don't recommend being parallel with it. You also have the possibility of missing a lot of infractions. You're going to be blocked out by either players or you're too far away from what's going on and you're just almost too close is what it is. Like, so you want to have that angled view where you're back a little more trailing play. You'll be able to see those infractions happen more, and also stay clear of any players that may come sliding your way.
All right. And the other thing is, okay, so as the referee, we're going up the ice like this. And if the play all of a sudden reverses or comes over along the wall in here, God, my telestrating is really bad tonight. I'm sorry, folks. And as the referee, what do we have the ability to do, right? If the play comes at us and we're even with it, we can get ourselves in trouble. If we're trailing behind the play, Melissa, we have the ability to stop short, right?
Right. You can kind of hesitate along the sideboards there and let play develop. You could back out a tiny bit if you needed to. If they bounce off the boards, you'll have the ability to move into the golden triangle, but it's fine to hesitate right there. If you're lined up with them, you're right in the middle of play, and Andrew's situation there with the broken ankle is somewhere you might end up, hopefully not, but you want the ability to be able to move and adjust with play.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so now play's continuing and the play reverses, okay? So now, and we're going to talk about entering the zone here in a second, but for those of you in the audience, you might have heard the term control turns. And, you know, we all know what a stop and a start is, right? So if we're talking about control turns versus stops and starts, if we're the referee, and there's my R, and the play we've dropped the puck, and now the play's going in, and so we're following the play this way. And now the play reverses, right? Whether they dumped it in and the defenseman gets it, or there's a turnover, and now the play comes up the ice. Andrew, why do I have the ice kind of divided in half here like this? What do we think, or what are we trying to signify for this versus, you know, for a control turn versus a stop and a start?
Well, in that case, when it's happening that quickly, you're going to eventually get tired after a while and almost possibly be in the way. The control turn there gives it a great example, since it is on the far side of that ice, since it's divided down the middle. An easy control turn there keeps your momentum going and will keep you with that, following that play a lot quicker or a lot closer than you would if you had to stop all the way and then start again, because those players aren't stopping and starting. They're going to go right back the other way. So the only way to catch up and only way to maintain with them would be to do a great control turn right there and get back in play.
Right. So and that's exactly it. You know, we like to talk about how the referees, we don't get a break. We don't get to sit on the benches. The coaches talk to their teams about having really hard 30 to 45, maybe a minute long shifts. They can go really hard. We can't. Our legs are going to get a lot more tired if we're stopping and starting all the time. So as much as possible as a referee, we want to be able to turn with the play and go up and down the ice, not that far out, but make control turns like that. And we can do that as long as the play is over here, right? And the other thing that allows us to do is if the play reverses and we're going up the ice, so if the play's here where this X is, and it changes and it goes up the ice, and we do a control turn, and we do it and we come up like this, by the time we've gotten the turn here, right? Ideally, the play is actually up here. So now, once again, we're 10 to 15 feet behind the play and we've got really good sight lines, right? And so that allows us as referees to see everything we needed to see. And the other thing is, and especially, you know, as you just start out working as an official or a referee for the first few times, you know, Melissa, this comes second nature maybe to you, but we want to make sure we're always turning towards play, right?
Correct. Yeah, you never want to find yourself turning towards the boards or getting your back to play. for a few different reasons. Just like in the two-man system, we always want to keep the players between the two officials. Although you're the only one out there in the three official system, we want to make sure that we're turning towards play for our safety and the safety of the players, being able to keep them in front of us.
Right. The minute we go this way, we're putting the play behind us. We can't see what we're looking at. And that's the minute something bad happens. And as the referee, you don't see. So that's a really important part. Now, when we talk about control turns are great. However, what happens here, well, let's say if the play's over on this side of the ice. So we've got the play here, and so now the play is reversed right in front of us, and we're within a couple of feet of that. What are we going to do then? Do we want to do that control turn?
It might not be the best opportunity for it. You don't want to find yourself, again, stuck right in the middle of the players. So that would be a good opportunity to stop and then restart, or stop and wait and see how play develops. If it's kind of hanging out in the neutral zone, it's okay to kind of hang tight and see what happens with play before you make your decision as to which direction you're going.
Right. I mean, that's the opportunity we can catch our breath, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if the play's just settled, stop, wait. You're also not moving, which gives you the ability to see things a little bit better, right?
Absolutely.
Because if you make that, if you make that control turn, so if the play is, if the play is here and it's stopped, and now all of a sudden you as the referee, you make a control turn, and you're right in the middle of play, and that's really good if you're the left winger or the right winger. That's not such a good thing if you're the referee. So those are the times you want to make your stops and starts. Okay, and I think so. Here's our referee right in the middle, and that's what we're going to do now. All right, so the play's transitioned a little bit. When we talk about entering the zone, we've talked about it a little bit in terms of if play stops short. But if play hasn't stopped short, so play's driving to the net, and I think when I press this button, Mr. or Mrs. Referee is going to show up here. So our play is going into the zone, going towards the net as the referee, and we're behind the play like we should be, 10 to 15 feet. We're not 30 feet or 40 feet behind the play because we're not a good skater. But when the play's here, what are we thinking as we enter the zone, Andrew? What's our mindset right now as we're coming in?
I would hope it would be to get to the net, since the play is now going to be going right towards it. Your area of focus better be either the slot area or right at the net, and that's where you better be skating extremely hard to get into the zone and get to the net there.
Yeah, and do we want to be doing that slowly? Are we doing that fast? Are we, Melissa, what do you, when you're watching officials working in the three official system, what are you looking for when we talk about zone entries?
Yeah, we talk a lot about sprint, glide, sprint when it's a three official system and the referee. So you're sprinting from the goal line to the blue line. You might slow it down and kind of watch what's going on through the neutral zone. And then we need to sprint again to that goal line. So your feet need to be moving, your head needs to be up, and you need to be taking that in. And depending on where play is, it might angle towards the net, but those feet better be moving. Good hustle, getting to that goal.
And the big reason there is, especially when the play's going to the net, I mean, the reason we're playing the game is to count goals, to score goals. And so we need to be there to see what's going on. So let's see what happens on this play as an example. So let's watch it one more time. Andrew, what do you like about this, or what don't you like about this?
Struggling to find anything you like about it, but what I don't like right there is that there is just as we were just talking about, just as Melissa was talking about, there's, a scramble at the front of the net there, and the optics of it just look terrible. The referee's positioning is somewhere along the high half wall. Once that scramble starts happening in front, that better be an antenna to get to the net, and his feet were definitely not moving there. And what happens is he could be dead right making that call from the corner, but the optics of it just looked terrible. And as you noticed, all the players come running to him. Even the team that scored didn't really seem all that sure about it at first. So again, just not loving the not getting to the net a lot part of it. Usually when I teach the summer development camps, that is a huge thing when we're discussing the 3 official system, is to get to that net, because we don't have goal judges most of the time. And if you do, it's not something we want to rely on anyway. So that is a big thing right there. And that was a perfect example of why you need to get to the front of the net, or get to the net.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And I think, you know, Melissa, half, you know, in situations we talk about selling calls, right? And is it possible to sell that call when we're not moving our feet into the zone like that?
Not like it would be if you were there. So again, like Andrew said, he might have had the view on that puck and could have seen it. But if you don't see it until the very last minute, it's one thing to argue a call when you're in position. It's another thing to argue a call when you're calling it from the hash marks. And that's about where he was. So we need to be able to get there. We need to be in the right position to make the call. If it was a goal that was close, I don't know how he would have seen it. And to argue with a coach that went in for sure, he's in a really tough position.
Right. So I just real quick, I'm going to throw this up here one more time. That referee's not moving his feet at this point where I stop the play. And the play's kind of at the net and we're still gliding. And the tough part as a referee, especially when you're learning about being a referee in the 3-man system, you know, you've got a lot going on. You've got a lot in terms of what you're thinking about. And you're looking for the puck. You're looking at the players. And when you engage your brain, sometimes it's tough to engage your legs. And so it's a learned skill. But if the referee's moving his feet there, whether that puck went in or not, the referee's signaling goal. And if he's in good position, it's going to be much easier to, quote unquote, sell that call. And that's really important. So, you know, when we talk about these things, that's what we're talking about with that. So now let's move on here. Let's watch another example real quick here. Little different, Melissa?
Absolutely. You can see him hitting that blue line and hustling. His feet are moving. He is trying to get right to the net. You actually see him angle in a bit there, and he's not following just down the boards and then cutting a 90-degree angle in. So he's moving and he's getting there, and he's, like we said before, about 10 or 15 feet behind play on the opposite side there.
Yeah, and you know what? And the other thing is, and we talked about this when we talked about communication with teams. And we talked about this in one of our Zoom casts when we talked about coaching, officiating coaching, or supervision. Hustle goes a long way. Hustle allows you to make mistakes. And if you're hustling, it's going to buy you some goodwill. And ultimately, that's another thing that this video really shows. So this was a good job all the way around by the officials. So now let's talk, and we just had a really good question. We just had a really good question, and I want to address it now because it talks about zone entries. And who was it? Kyle asked the question, if play is stalled on the boards, as you mentioned before, when you're entering the zone, is it best to bump around or stay back and behind? So let's, as we look at our PowerPoint here, I don't have the ability to move our referee, but let's, let me get my little telestrator out here. If the referee is actually up here and play stalls out here and the referee's following in, do we want the referee going out and around to get down to the golden triangle, or do we want the referee sitting up here? Andrew, what do you think?
I would much rather prefer him to stay up there. Maybe the other possibility you could do is move out towards the face-off dots a little bit, so that way he still has an angle at that play kind of along the half wall that's in front of him. That way he doesn't have to totally just bump all the way around it, just maybe bump off the boards a little bit. That way you have a better angle at it.
So really, you want the referee, and you don't want, now, you may have a partner right here, Melissa, on the line. So we're not going to stop right in front of them. Now, in my case, being a very tall 5'9", most of the linesmen I worked with in my day could see right over the top of me. But we're going to assume we have referees out there in the audience that are a little taller than me, or are going to be working with linesmen that might be the same size. We don't want to block their view, right? So we don't want to stand there, but we don't, if the play's up high here, you know, there's no reason to bump around, right? Now, Melissa, if the play moves down a little bit or hangs out, is there ever going to be a time when we do want to bump around?
There may be a time. If play has come down a little bit and it's, say, closer to those hash marks, if you have a clear route around them and they're truly not moving the puck, you may be in a better position then to bump around to get down closer to the goal line there to have a better field of vision. But you need to know your abilities, and you need to be able to read that play enough that you're not going to bump around as that puck kind of shoots out, or as they start to break out then towards you again. So it can be a little situational, but there are times where that can be a benefit for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we like to say, you know, don't sacrifice good position to go through really bad position to get to what you think might be better position, right? I mean, they're not going to score a goal. In most cases, they're not scoring a goal from here or anywhere like that, right? Now, if you've stayed here, or if they're just not moving and it's only a couple of players, and like Melissa said, right, you have that ability, you have good skating ability, and you can bump around and get into the corner, get into the golden triangle, that's good. But if there's 5 or 6 players and the plays, there's a whole schmozzle worth of players out here, you don't want to find yourself out here to get back there, right? Because now you've put yourself in terrible position to get into the corner when they're not going to score anyway, right? But Wilkie, if all of a sudden, let's see if I can erase this. If all of a sudden, you know, you've stopped up high here, play stalled out here, and now all of a sudden play goes towards the net or the slot, what are you going to do, right?
Well, now that it's going towards the net, there's your chance, if there's an opening there, then to move along into the golden triangle, get to the goal line from there.
Right. And like Melissa talked about a little earlier, we don't need to go down the wall and then around this way. If we have to cut the angle because play is immediately at the net, we're going to go there. Mm-hmm. And so now, so hopefully that answers your question from the audience in terms of what do we want to do. And I think the big thing here, and the big thing, you know, we talk about moving your feet, right? Move your feet, move your feet, move your feet, which is really good when plays on the other side of the ice or plays going towards the net. But if you're in the middle of the play, then the mantra you want to have is patience, right? Be patient, let something develop, and then move your feet, right? But so Melissa, now we're in the golden triangle. Talk to us a little bit about the golden triangle. What are we trying to accomplish? What is it, and what are we doing?
Yeah, that, as far as your referee positioning goes, is kind of your sweet spot. So if you're in the corner where the referee is in that picture, play is going to be on the opposite side of the ice, but closer to the net. As play moves into the corner on the opposite side of the rink there, you'll follow the line of the golden triangle over and you'll move yourself closer to the net. So we're moving with play kind of like a yo-yo down there, or a piston, either way. Down there on the goal line, moving along the bottom edge of the triangle. But if play then cuts up back towards you, you have the ability to move yourself up that edge of the golden triangle along the sideboards there towards the hash marks. Again, you can be patient, let play develop, and then when you need to, you can angle it right in towards the net for that potential scoring opportunity. So it really just gives you the opportunity to move around down there on the goal line for the best field of vision, depending on where play is on the ice.
For sure. And you might see me drawn here, and this is poor editing on my part in terms of where the golden triangle is. But you know what? One thing we like to talk about, if the puck's below the goal line, as the referee, do we want to be up here or do we maybe want to be down here? Because what's usually in front of the net, Andrew? What do we have in front of the net?
Well, you have a lot of people, hopefully, are right there, and a goalie, and so a lot of things are definitely going on. And I was even going to say that usually we're falling even below the goal line nowadays, just the way the game is progressing nowadays, that it gives you still the ability to have everyone in sight. And the goaltender is now in your sight line as well, because what is happening a lot nowadays is a lot of action in front of the net, a lot of contact with the goalie. So this gives you a great sight line for just that issue.
Yeah, exactly. And in the end zone like that, that's kind of the one time it's okay to be a little bit parallel with the puck, because you're really fighting through, visually, you're fighting through a lot of traffic. You're fighting through a lot of traffic, but this is your sweet spot, like Melissa said. And that's the area, you know, this is where referees really earn their money. Because the other thing, there is going to be a time it's okay to really get close to that net. And, you know, we talk about that. If there's a big scramble here and we're going to sell that call, it's okay to be right there at the net, isn't it, Melissa?
Absolutely. Yep. We don't want to be watching the puck, but you need to be close to be able to see, to be able to talk, and to be able to watch those players and the goalie, of course.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, real quick, in terms of, so we've kind of talked a little bit about, we've talked a little bit about pursuit of play. We've talked about entering the zones and things like that. Let's just very quickly talk about where are we standing for faceoff. So we know as a referee in the 3 official system, we're dropping the puck at center ice after goals and to start the periods in the game. But the rest of the faceoffs, the linesmen are going to handle those. So really, well, where are we starting? I thought when I did that, maybe we'd have Mr. Referee would show up, but I guess not. So if we're going to have a face-off in the neutral zone right here, and in USA Hockey nowadays, in the last 3 years, we're only dropping the puck at the 9 face-off dots. So for a neutral zone face-off, where are we standing as the referee? Are we going to be right here on the line across from the face-off dot? Are we going to be up here, or are we going to be down below? Wilkie?
Definitely the down below one there.
Okay, and why?
It gives you the best sight of the angle of it. If you're standing right along the blue line, you're going to be not only blocking the linesman, but you're going to be blocked out by all the players, whatnot. This gives you a great sight line in at the angle. And also, should the play go either direction, you're in a position where you can either follow the play going towards the other zone, or then be right there as the play is coming into the zone you're in.
For sure. And you know what else? What happens? You know, what happens on a somewhat, I don't want to say regular basis, but it can happen a lot. You know, you've got 2 players lined up back here, and invariably what happens, right? One player wants to lift the other player's stick, and, you know, at all levels, we don't condone letting players hit each other in the face with their sticks, even accidentally. But we want to be able to see those high sticks that we might miss, or a player pulling their feet out from under them, right? So,
absolutely.
So that's where we're going to be there. Melissa, where are we going to be if there's if our face-off is in the end zone here? Where are we lining up?
Yep, we want to be lined up closer to the goal line down there. I'd say at least even with the face-off dot. And everybody kind of has their preferences depending on kind of where the players line up, but you want to be definitely down there in that area. Again, ready for a potential shot right off the face-off. You're right on home base.
Yeah. And so we're always going to be offset a little bit. And ultimately, that's what we're looking to do in terms of our positioning. So now let's talk a little bit about the 4 official system. What's the difference? Either one of you guys, you know, when we talk about going from the 3 official system to the 4 official system, what changes, or, you know, what are you thinking about? And we don't have an overly experienced group here in terms of the 4 official system. So if you were working with one of a less experienced referee, what are you going to tell them in the locker room about jumping into the 4 official system? I don't know, Melissa, what are you going to tell them?
Well, I'd start with what we're talking about in the locker room first. So the way we're going to communicate on the ice, where depending on which official you are, where you might be focusing your attention, because it does change a little bit within the 4 official system. So your field of vision, although it needs to keep all the players, you know, in front of you, you have the ability to focus a little bit into different areas of the rink when you know you have a partner out there helping you. So it really comes down to the communication, the eye contact, keeping the gap close, making sure that we are really within that zone of coverage as we're moving through the rink, and to let them know that we're covering this game together, that there's not a my zone, your zone. If a call needs to be made, that call needs to be made for sure. It's not going to hurt my feelings if you make that call. But to understand that field of vision is important. And if I may have had a better view on it, then we might need to take that second to think, could I have been blocked out, for them to make that call, as to feel confident with the call that they're making right there. So to me, it's really about the communication, even before you step on the ice.
No, you're absolutely. And Andrew, you know, when we talk about the 4 official system, a lot of the positioning is pretty similar to just the good old system we learned to begin with right off the bat, is the 2 official system, isn't it? In terms of how we're covering the game, the only difference is we've got 2 other partners out there that are worried about icings and offsides, right?
Absolutely, and that's how I've been able to walk through it with several beginners with the 4 official system. It can seem intimidating until you break it down like that. Just say, hey, you've always done a 2 official system game, haven't you? Now you just don't have to worry about offside and icing. You can actually focus in on certain penalty calls and criteria. So again, it can seem overbearing and intimidating, but at its basics, it's a very simple system.
Yeah, and that's really true. I mean, it is the 2 official system that we've all done. Is really the foundation for that. And Melissa brings up a really good point. And I was, you know, I was fortunate enough at a time in my on ice career when we went from the 3 official system to the 4 official system. And one of our big mottos that we always had to tell ourselves was, you know, check your ego at the door. That, you know what, the goal is to get the call right. And as in the 3 official system, we talk about you're in charge and you've got that mindset. Now you go to the 4 official system and you've got a partner, and that's really good, and it's good for the game. And ultimately we want to serve the game. But at the same token, you know, you also have to appreciate that your partner, you know, might, you know, is going to be out there. You're sharing those responsibilities. So, you know, let's go back now to our PowerPoint real quick, and let's talk about positioning and everything else that happens here. So when we're, you know, when play starts, when we're talking about the 4 official system, we're lining up, and I've got my one referee here who's really not doing a very good job because he's not facing the play. But in the 4 official system, one referee is dropping the puck. The other referee is going to be offset a little bit here. So once again, he or she can see what's happening behind. And when the puck goes down, right, Andrew, as the referee dropping the puck, your attitude really hasn't changed about when and how you're going to exit the circle, right? You're going to be patient, just like you talked about earlier in the 3 official system, right? And
absolutely.
And
absolutely, so, same thing.
And that's going to be the referee that drops the puck is going to key off of the other referee, right? So Melissa, if you're the referee over here by the penalty box and you're doing it right and you're actually facing play, when the play starts to move, you're going to do that, and I as the referee dropping the puck am going to key off of that. So if the play begins to head up the ice this way, as the referee now, this referee, you're going to go into the zone. Now, are you going to wait for the play to pass you so that you're 10 to 12 feet behind the play, or are you going to back into the zone?
I'm going to back into the zone all the way to the goal line there, because now we essentially revert back to, like you said, the 2 official system. So Now, instead of trailing play, we want to beat them to the line. So keep all the players between you and your partner and back yourself into the goal line there. And then you would assume your position, over near the sideboards there, right outside the zone.
Correct. So now as a referee in the 4 official system, you're going to have to be a pretty good backward skater because you're going to be doing a ton of it, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So then we've already kind of talked about this. So now the play's in the zone. So this official still isn't watching the play out at the blue line. So we're going to call R2 here, but the play's in the zone. So the referee in the zone, they're still working our golden triangle, right? They're still working the golden triangle. And this official out here, what's this official watching? What is this official trying to accomplish? What are they just kind of out there talking to the linesman, or are they watching play? What are they doing? Melissa.
Sorry, you want to go ahead?
No, go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead.
Last one, you can take this one.
Okay. The outside official, the R2 there, is going to be watching a lot of what's going on in front of the net, or anywhere that the referee down low, R1, who's more puck focused, is definitely going to want to watch where they're not kind of looking. And in front of the net is where usually a lot of things are going to be happening that R1 isn't focused on because they're kind of watching where the puck goes.
Absolutely. So R1 is going to be working the golden triangle, right? They're going to be working back and forth in the corner, depending on where play is. And when we talk about areas of responsibility, and we talked about this is things you're going to want to talk about in the locker room and stuff. But if the play's down in this area, down in here, or anywhere over in here, R1's going to be responsible, and R2 is going to be watching in front of the net or off the play where the battles are going on. You're going to see, if you're watching on TV and you watch the NHL or any college hockey or any high-level hockey where they're using this system, a lot of the, kind of the cross-checking penalties or things that happen from the hash marks up, a lot of times that's going to be R2's call. The other thing is, when the play wraps around, and if the play ends up here, oh, that got away from me. But if the play ends up here, R2 is going to slide back a little bit, but they're still going to be making this call while R1 is going to be trailing. Because now R2, their focus is going to be on the puck, and this official down here is now watching behind the play as play goes up the ice, correct? And that's, and now, as play goes into the zone, this referee becomes R1, and R2 is he gonna lollygag? I like to use that term. Is he gonna lollygag up the ice, or is he gonna be skating hard up the ice, Andrew?
Oh, he better be skating hard up the ice and get that gap control, because now he has to support that his partner who's skating hard backwards into the zone. Now you must take over for the back part of the play should there be something happening behind the play. And again, now you want to support him as they're getting into the zone, and now you overtake being the overseer there of the front of the net. So you better be skating pretty hard.
Right, and so it's not a system to be lazy, and you should still be working hard. And gap control is really important, right? Because if your partner gets in some trouble, you're also going to be in a good position to be able to help them, correct?
Exactly. Just as in the 3-man system, again, sometimes it's the optics of it, and your hustle and your working hard can put you in that better position to make that better call than you would be, say, if you're lollygagging, as Scott put it, and you're too far back. Maybe you don't see the play correctly, and the sight line isn't what it should be, and you end up making, a call you're guessing on instead of maybe hustling a little more, being in that right position and making the correct call.
Right. So if Melissa, like if you're the referee and you've backed into the zone this way, and now you're here, and now there's a close play at the net, R2 back here is not in a very good spot, is he or she, right?
I honestly can't see it. It's still on Drew, so.
Oh, well, let's see if we can do that.
Now.
You know what? Yeah, the production truck is falling asleep on the job. Here we go. So now, as the play's moved up the ice and you're at the net, and there's a play here, and R2 is still back at the blue line, that's not good, because as a referee, right, you're going to be really focused on the puck. And with a partner out there, you have that luxury, don't you? You can really dial in, right?
Absolutely. So one of the things with communication in the locker room is making sure that you've set kind of the expectations with each other, because if I'm R1 at that point and there's a scramble in front of the net, I'm watching that goal line specifically to see if that puck is crossing the line and how that happened. Where in a 3-man system, it's your job to watch all of it. So the focus changes a little bit. So if I know I have my partner there, be it R2, to watch the plays in front of the net like that, if that cross check happens, I would expect them to make that call while I'm watching the puck cross or not cross the line. So if they're way back in the opposite end zone at that point in time and they don't make that call, then we're putting ourselves in a bad position, because I was expecting that to be made. So that communication and expectation of roles in that point is really important.
For sure. So let's go to the tape and let's give you an example, and let's see some pretty good gap control here by our officials. See how hard that referee's, he's skating up the ice in the back. And the referee's skating pretty good, but now look how close the referee is there. So when the referees, and I want to go back here. Hold on here. Let's go to this point right here. All right. So Andrew, our referee is a pretty good skater. So he's got confidence in his skating ability. If something happens up here, he's going to be able to assume this call, right?
Correct. And he better, since he's got the sight line of it, that it's coming at him. He's looking directly towards it. Meanwhile, the referee in the zone is lower, and his focus would just be looking through maybe, 5 or 6 players that wouldn't have the best sight line on that. So absolutely, I'd say the top referee would have that call.
Correct. Anything else that you like about this video, Melissa?
Yeah, I like the hustle of the transition of both officials. So the backwards official going in and assuming the R1 position. And as you watch R1 turn into R2, he's hustling to get up there. So like we were talking about, that gap control and keeping the players between both officials, it's tight. So they've got the best view and the confidence to make those calls because they're in the right positions. So the hustle is great.
Absolutely. So real quick, and then we're going to open it up. We're moving along here. We're going to open it up. We've got a couple of really good questions, but when we talk about no man's land and places you should never be, whether you're in the 3 official system, the 4 official system, or the 2 official system, does any of that change? We don't want to be behind the net. And this is where we put the disclaimer for what you may see in high levels of hockey on TV versus what we want you doing within USA Hockey. You don't want to be behind the net. You don't want to be out in the middle of the rink. And I think, ultimately that's for safety, right? Right, Andrew?
Oh, absolutely. You don't want to be any further past kind of the dots, really. That should be your determiner of where not to cross into. You're just going to, bad things could happen with the play, you being involved in the play, or just, errant things happening. So definitely not the place you want to be. It's set no man's land for a reason. So
yeah. And you're nodding your head. Anything you want to add there, Melissa?
It just puts you in a bad position when it comes to sight lines. Again, like Andrew said, being stuck in play and the potential to then be hit by a puck. Whether it rings off the post or if you've decided to go behind the net in kind of a poor situation and end up getting hit there too. So safety of you and the players is important, and that's why it's set up that way.
Yeah, perfect. So, and you're right. And that's, ultimately, if you find yourself in no man's land, not only can you get hurt, but you're also probably in a position where you're not going to have a great sight line, where you're not going to be able to see the most important things. we've got a couple of questions, and I want to hit some of them. And if you have any more, feel free to throw them in the Q&A. But you know, Riley mentions, you know, to what degree can a linesman talk about a potential missed call to a referee? Which one of you guys wants to tackle the conversations between referees and linesmen about missed calls or good calls and things like that?
Yeah, I can take it. As you're working out there as
Melissa already answered part of it, so I'll let her take
yeah,
that.
you're working out there as a team, so that communication is important for sure. But usually you're watching for the stuff that's happening behind play, where the referee might not be seeing kind of that troublemaker player when we're talking about the 3 official system. So at a stoppage, it might be a good idea to say, hey, we need to kind of keep our head on a swivel, and, you know, player 10 black is really causing some havoc back here, just kind of a heads up. Or any major penalty that happened that the referee wasn't able to see in that 3 official system. You just want to be careful, especially if it's a new referee working out there, to not kind of be hounding them as far as every little thing, because their confidence then is going to be diminished. They're already thinking that. It's difficult to get used to being the only referee out there. So if it's something, you know, really important that was missed, we want to kind of find the right way to talk to them. And sometimes on the ice is not even the right spot. So picking and choosing is important, but as a team, we need to make sure that we're making the right calls out there. Yeah.
Andrew, anything you want to add?
Not really. I mean, I think you touched on everything there, but the point about, yeah, maybe talking to them afterward, if it is a younger official, that maybe on the ice wouldn't be the best thing, just to kind of say, hey, we'll talk about it later. You could walk through the situation a little more than instead of, you know, getting in their head on the ice, and now they kind of just don't know what to do at that point. But all good things there.
Yeah, and so Maria asks, what do you do if you're not sure about a call? Andrew, what advice would you give to Maria on that one? What do you do if you're not sure, especially in the 3 official system?
If you're not
out
sure,
there all by yourself.
Oh wow, well that's happened a few too many times that I'd like. But yeah, I would recommend not calling anything you are not absolutely sure on. You're only going to get yourself into more trouble when you start guessing on things. Because now, you know, any question that's going to come up, you're going to be like, well, I think so. It might have been this. I don't know. So if you're not sure on a call, it's much better to say, look, I didn't see it. In a 3 official system, especially there, you know, in the physical universe we're in, there are things you're just not going to be able to see. It's just the way things are. But that doesn't mean you just get away from it. So, but I wouldn't recommend just guessing on a call. So if you're not sure about it, again, just step back a second and take your time with it.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, so the reality is that's going to happen to all of us. There are going to be times when we're not sure about something, or we're not going to see it, or whatever it is. And we talk about this in our communication. We talked about this in our, you know, we talked about this in our communication Zoomcast, but it's okay to admit that you didn't see something. But you want to set yourself up for success, right? And when you control the things you can control, right? So Melissa, before you went to the Olympics, I'm fairly confident you knew the IIHF rule book forward and backward, right? Even though you use it here in the States, you knew that pretty well before you went to South Korea, right?
Yes. Yes.
You know, so know the rule book. If you're a good athlete or you're a good skater and you're putting yourself in the best position, but you know, the big takeaway is you don't want to guess. A couple of other really good ones. You know, Kyle asks, can a linesman stop play for a major or misconduct infraction? Kyle, I'm not going to answer that question for you. I'm going to direct you to the rule book, because the rule book under linesman's duties is going to give you the answer. So I want to challenge you to go take a look. And for those of you in the audience, because it's spelled out very clearly what the linesman can and can't do. So we're going to play a little hardball here, and I'm going to say, go take a look in the rule book for all of you, because the answer is going to be there. Here's a good one. I'm starting the officiating process and I'm super nervous. What do you do to calm yourself down before a game? The floor is yours, gang.
I can start on that one and then you can talk about what you do, Andrew. But I go through kind of the same process almost every game day. Whether I have to work or not, or if I'm traveling and have games, I try to kind of go through the same process. So knowing your rule book for the league that you're skating in is definitely number one. It'll give you that confidence when you're on the ice. But I like to eat just about the same thing. My physical activity stays about the same. I have a warm-up that I like to go through. So doing those things really helps kind of keep me calm and to put myself in the same position every game to make sure that my body is ready and my head is ready for that game.
Oh, that's great. Andrew, what do you want to add?
Just as Melissa was saying, the preparation part is huge. That will give you so much confidence. If you know the rule book, you are ready for certain situations. If you can just visualize things even throughout the day or any situation that might come up, you're going to be so much more confident. You're going to hit the ice and you're going to be like, wait, I've already seen this in my head. I've already visualized this. I'll be ready to go for it. Just little things like that, that then when that puck drops, you can have that sense of ease, that sense of calm instead of being all excited and jittery. So now you're ready to go.
And I'm going to answer a little bit as well. And I think that, when you start out at anything, you're always going to be nervous. Doesn't matter what you're doing. And part of getting less nervous is doing it more. And I know this year, depending on where you're watching, we all have challenges. They aren't playing hockey everywhere yet. Hockey is coming back, and it is back in a lot of areas, but maybe it's not quite back where you are. The more games you can get, the more comfortable you're going to be. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If ask questions of your partners, ask questions of your teammates. Watch these Zoomcasts. They're going to give you good information. Watch, dig into your manuals, dig into your rule books. The more you experience some of those things, the less nervous you're going to be. But I can tell you, whether your name is Andrew Wilk or Melissa Szkola or Scott Zelkin or, John Doe, you're going to be nervous before every game. There isn't going to be a time where you're not going to be nervous. And ultimately, you know what? Those nerves aren't a bad thing either. They're going to keep you on edge. So I think that's a great question to kind of round us off here as we get to the top of the hour. I want to thank our panelists for joining us. I also want to point you to our upcoming episodes. So when we look forward here, this week we're talking about referee positioning. Next week we're going to be equal opportunity Zoomcast, and we're going to talk about linesman positioning. BJ Ringrose is going to be in the captain's chair with a couple of outstanding linesmen. We're even going to have one of our top American National Hockey League linesmen joining us next week to talk about linesman positioning. Then when we get towards the middle of September, you see emotional intelligence, and you might wonder, what is emotional intelligence? Well, X's and O's are really important, but another part of being an official is de-escalating, is keeping things calm, is doing everything you can as an official to help keep the game on the tracks. And so we're going to talk a little bit about emotional intelligence, and then September 22nd, we're going to talk about officiating disabled hockey, all the different opportunities that are out there for all of you to work in terms of the disabled hockey section, and they need good officials. It's extremely rewarding, and we're excited to bring you a Zoomcast on that. So with all of that, I really want to thank both Andrew and Melissa for joining us tonight. Their insights have been outstanding, and I know they've helped all of us get a little bit better this evening. So Andrew, thanks for being with us. Any parting words for our audience?
Thanks for having me, Scott, and thanks to USA Hockey, and good luck to everyone during this very unique season upcoming. So good luck to.
Yeah. And Melissa, I want to thank you as well. And we know you do a ton in your role in Michigan with local hockey, and we're glad you could join us. Anything you want to leave us with before we sign off?
Yeah, thanks for having me, and I hope everybody enjoyed tonight. This has been a lot of fun on our end. But yeah, if anybody ever has any questions, please feel free to reach out. I love being able to help whenever it's needed. So good luck to everybody and just enjoy the journey.
Thanks so much. So once again, thank you to Andrew and Melissa, and we appreciate all of you joining us tonight. We'll see you next Tuesday, and in the meantime, be safe, be well, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.